And we're back. And we're back. Morning time, wartime, Zoom shteig, geula time, Lulav hagazul, shiur arba. It is wonderful to see everybody. Boker tov. Seresimei tshuva, year of Torah Shabbat Peh, and we were discussing the lulav that was stolen. Right? We spoke about it in the Mishnah. Says the Gemara just says puzzle. The Mishnah just says it's puzzle, right? Lulav gavuz yavish puzzle. The Gemara says kapasik vitani. Just gonna say it straight out like that. Just gonna paskin azoy. That it doesn't make a difference. Yom Tov Rishon doesn't make a difference. Yom Tov Sheni, Yavesh and Gazul are aser on both of the first day of Yantiv and the second day of Yantiv. Bishlema, says the Gemara. I understand Yavesh. I understand why it would be a problem to be dried out lulav, whether on the first day of Yantiv or on the last day of Yantiv, because it needs hadar, veleka, and it's not. Ella. Gazul, but wait a second. If it's a stolen lulav, bishlema yom tov rishon, I understand why it would be usher to use a stolen lulav on the first day of Yantiv. Tichsiv lachem mishalachem, because it says to you. It says, what does the pasuk say? V'lakachtem lachem bayom harishon. You took for yourselves on the first day. So it says lachem mishalachem. Okay, that's on the yom harishon mishalachem. El b'yom sheni. On Milo. On the second day of Yantiv, why not? Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon bar ben Yochai. So Rabbi Yochanan, first generation Amira, says in the name of the Rashbi, one of the most heilige Tanai and one of our favorites, Mishum dahavale mitzvah haba ba'avera. Because if you take this lulav, even on the second day, that you don't have a pasuk telling you that you need to do it. You need to take from yourself, and you can't take a stolen one. But it's a mitzvah that comes from an avera, and that's the Emir Hashem, the sugya that I want to go into today. Emir Hashem will be able to see a bunch of Gemaras and a bunch of Rashi, a bunch of Gemaras and a bunch of Rambams. We're taking a look at this Shas sugya, and we daven that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us siyata d'shmaya. That's the first line of defense against the Yetzer Hara, and it's the first line of offense when you're starting to learn the Gemara. That the Eibusher should give us siyata d'shmaya to be successful. Shenemar. So how do we know that mitzvah haba ba'avera is aser? What's the makor? V'hadeisem gazul v'esa piseach v'esa chola. So shalom aleichem. And we're back. Shalom Aleichem. Just take a look at the Heilige Orchim and the Heilige Shiur that's coming is such a schus. And we were just talking about what a schus it is to be learning Torah. And Berov Am Hadras Melech. You know? And so it should be a Kiddush Hashem, and it should be like, it should be accepted for Hashem like Reach Nichayach, just like a korban. So we say, that when you're having a korban, there's a few things that you can't bring. There's the pasuk in Malachi, right? The pasuk says, "De'amartem hine matla'av v'hipachtem osi," whatever. Amar Hashem tzvakais. Oh, we're just talking about Rob Am Hadras Melech. That the name Hashem tzvakais is an interesting name that we spoke about in Yeshivas Gula Shol in the first Agadita by Rabbi Bar Chana. That's one of the names on the stick that you have to beat the Yetzer Hara with. Hashem tzvakos. That's the name of Hashem that's for Am Yisrael. That's the name of his tzava. That's the pasuk, the Gemara that I quoted, that Barov Am Hadras Melech. And so we see this pasuk being brought here, whatever. And you brought gazul v'esa piseach. You're bringing a korban that's stolen, or limping, or sick. Is a mincha osa miyadchem Hashem. It's like, what? I'm gonna want this. It's gonna be near said to me, says the Borei Olam. So we see that what's the reason that a mitzvah, you cannot have a mitzvah that comes from an avera? So we see that it's a pasuk in Nevi'im. So a pasuk in Nevi'im, is that deraisa or derabanan?
It's the equivalent to a blemish korban.
Yeah, it's equivalent to a blemish. Yeah, it's a blemish korban. If it's a stolen korban, it's equivalent to blemish, exactly. And so it seems to say that the makor for mitzvah above avera is from divrei seifrim, or not divrei seifrim, divrei nevi'im, but it's still not deraisa. So nevi'im is not deraisa.
Korbanos are deraisa.
The korbanos is deraisa, but
regarding your deraisa thing,
yeah, but this.
it's like he's paskin telling us.
But this limud, that where we know mitzvah b'avera from, l'chayra is from a pasuk in Nach. And so it wouldn't have the standing of a deraisa din. And I remember that when we were just starting to learn this sugya yesterday, there was like some talk about it. Where do we know this makor from? What's the status of this mitzvah b'avera? Okay. But Harry, it could be that it is deraisa, so we have to see. I hear you saying it's talking about korbanos.
Saying how Hashem feels about your deraisas now.
I hear you.
Well, let me know if you want pomegranates.
Oh, thank you. Maybe at the right time, but right now.
Yeah, just let me know.
Thank you. Gazul dumia de piseach. So ma piseach leslei takanta. Just like an animal, a piseach. We got to see. We didn't even see Rashi. We got to see Rashi. We're gonna. Yesterday we went over it a little bit, but let's see what Rashi, how exactly it translates to piseach. I think it's something. It has a limp, but maybe it's like. So why is it? So maybe it's that like this. One of his legs is shorter. We have to see Rashi. So af gazul leislei takanta. If it's a stolen korban, it has no takana. Lo shna lifnei yesh. It doesn't matter if it's before yesh. I wish I had another Gemara. You can follow Kansafaria. It's all good. That's for Zalman. That's for Zalman. That one can look in the English one. No, it's good. It's good. It's all good. It's better. I don't know. Okay. Safari is good. That Gemara is krum. I mean, it's not so krum. But like, it doesn't have the surah hadaf. So just so you know. Okay, great. Okay, so we're doing the sugya of mitzvah b'avera. And so the Gemara says that if it's stolen, it has no takana. There's no way to make it, yes, acceptable for a korban. It doesn't matter if it's before Yehush, and it doesn't matter if it's after Yehush. So if it's before Yehush, obviously it's not his korban. So it would be a chisaro, right? It says I understand why you wouldn't be able to bring the korban, a stolen korban before Yehush. Wasn't able to bring a stolen korban before Yehush, because it says Adam ki yakriv mikem amar Rachmana, a man who comes and brings the korban from him. Amar Rachmana v'lav dideyu. It's not his korban. Why? Because he didn't acquire it. Oh, because possession. Well, I don't know about how much percentage of the law, but it's not enough to acquire. It's not enough to acquire just with. Yeah, it has to be also maybe a shinoi. So before Yehush, it's not even his. He didn't even acquire the korban just because he stole it and has the possession, but it's not his korban. So we have the gezeres hakasav. Obviously, he can't bring a stolen korban before Yehush. Well, what about Yehush? But after Yehush, hakani abi Yehush. So the shinoi bailim, meaning like who's like the possession, who's the possession, or the shinoi rishos, I should say, and the Yehush is enough to give him the kinyan. After the stealing, he gave up. So now it's his korban, shleigs. Now if he brings the korban, what do we say? This is a fulfillment of Mikem. He's bringing his korban to the korban, bringing his animal. What's the problem? I don't understand. What's the problem? There's no problem. He already acquired it. Lulav, rather is it not mishum dahavale mitzvah abava avera? Rather is it not the reason that he cannot bring the korban, that if it's stolen, so would it not be a mitzvah above avera?
What are you talking about? Yeah,
I'm saying that if it's before Yayosh, obviously you couldn't bring the stolen korban because you have a pasuk telling me that you have to bring from yourself a korban, an animal that you acquire that's in your possession. Okay, well after Yayosh, when the animal actually does transfer in your possession, says the Torah, you still can't take, says Malachi, you still can't take the korban. It must be that the reason is because of mitzvah of avera.
Yiddish was saying is at the point that the original owner gives up.
Yeah, he's like, I'm never gonna get this back.
So how do we define that in point in time? Which
Ah.
I asked yesterday.
That's a good
There's a
question.
general understanding of when a person and what scenario you give up. If I lose $20 in Times Square, you're never seeing it again.
Right, if there's a
I
sign.
don't think money fits in that category. Money's not a possession.
If I lose anything in Times
No,
Square,
if money, first of all, fiat, it's a possession because you own this piece of paper, right? That has no inherent value, but it's still a possession. Maybe it's less than Shavapruta, but since it has,
Coins are considered.
yeah, they're considered possessions. If there's a sign, like let's say you lost like a bag, and you're like, my bag has like tape on it. So then maybe you'd be like, I still have hope that I can find it. But the whole the beginning of the Masechet of Bava Metzia actually talks about Yayosh, and at what point. But it's a good question. It's a big sugya.
Did you learn this last night in Beya?
What? In Beitza.
The coins, right?
Oh, we're talking about the coins. Yeah, we're talking about coins last night in Beitza.
Yeah.
About if you left $100 and you found two.
Yeah.
But this is.
But that was really using coins as an example to
Ah.
possess.
So yeah, so you can possess coins. Of course, you can possess coins. Yeah, definitely. That's a good raya that you can possess coins.
societal understanding is when something could be potentially found in a turned logically, and you know it's just.
So Zalman's asking a good question. He's saying, let's go into the Yair Sugya. I want to go super deep. Let's open up above Mitzvah and go into the Sugya of at what point is it considered that a person loses or gives up his possession. That would be an amazing thing to go really be in. We don't have, we do have the computer. At this point, we're gonna shelve that sugya. It's a huge sugya within our sugya, and you see how unbelievable it is. How like the sugyas and they branch out into a million ways.
Where I come from, we just changed the VIN numbers, so we're good to go.
What's the VIN numbers?
Vehicle identification numbers.
Oh, yeah. So we're not changing anything. We're not doing anything. We're putting it. What is Yayash? We're putting that on the side right now because we have to understand that Yair happened at some point, and after it happened, the guy acquired the animal. You can't bring it as a korban. Why not? Says the Gemara, it must be because of mitzvah above avera.
So what is that mitzvah?
Mitzvah that comes from an avera. You do a mitzvah, you're shaking lulav.
That's distinct from not.
From it not being your lulav, or from it not being your korban,
Okay.
right?
It's a
And so on the first day / before Yayosh, we have a pasuk telling me why I can't use this lulav / korban. But on the second day of Yantif / the second / after Yayosh on the korban, so then the reason that you can't do it is because mitzvah bavavera. And so now I want to see Rambam's talking about it. But first, let's see these Rashis. So the Gemara asks, right? So the first the Gemara says, "Kapasik vitali." We just say it straight out, puzzle. Lo shna biyom tov rishon. The chiyuva is deraisa, says Rashi. The chiyuva for the first day of Yantiv is deraisa because it says v'lakachtem lachem, and you took for yourselves biyom rishon on the first day. Lo shna biyom tov sheni. The late banan, lo derabanan biyom arishon. So I understand Yavesh because we need hider mitzvah. Okay. But for stolen on the second day, Amailo, why not? Mehechitesi, lemifsala. Mehechitesi to say that it's puzzle. Shenemar, right? So it says because a mitzvah bavavera. How do we know mitzvah bavavera? Because shenemar, because there's a puzzle in Malachi. Shenemar v'vesim gazol. The ashkechan kra de oser lehevi, that makes it usher to do a mitzvah ba'avera. So we have a pasuk from Divrei Nevi'im that says that it's usher. So the Gemara quotes that pasuk, and so the pasuk compares stolen to piseach, to crippled. Ma piseach in lotakana la'achar zman lahakrivo shahari mum kavua olamisu. It's a mum that is always there. It's not like, he has it's like a weird walking manner that you can teach him. You can take him to gate school. You know where they hold gate school? The city gate. And they teach him how to walk, But that's not, in this case, this guy has one leg shorter than the other leg and he's hobbling. There's no way that he can fix it. So too, stolen, guzzle, yalfinan mina. So we learned that guzzle, we learned from it, de'in lo takana. That just like the different sized legged animal that hobbles around doesn't have any way to fix it. De'in lo takana la'achar zman. That's the chiddush, that even if there's yesh and he actually acquires it, and it's michem, because we learn to the guy who made the original owner, Zalman. You asked the question. I said I got to put it on the side for now because it was too gigantic of a sugya for me to handle.
In the face. Go.
No, it doesn't hit me in the face. Rashi comes and Rashi can do it. I mean, I'm a kata. Rashi, Rashi can say. So the guy, he's miyayish. And what does he say? Rashi knows exactly at what point is he yayish. What does he say? He says, "Va'ilei kiss." He says,
make an oral declaration.
He has to say, "Oy vey to my loss of pocket."
God bless my ability to read English.
You're saying you're reading it in the English, and so you already knew that Rashi was going to say that point, and now you're testing me. Okay, very good. I'm happy that I was able to blind. All right, the Abagav Dil Inyan Mikmi Amrinan Bibava Kama, and even though to the Indian of Mikmi, which we have to see, we say in Bava Kama on Samech Ches Amar Aleph, the Kani. Even though we say by Mikni, we say Mikni Kani. Mikni? Kani. Mikni? Mikni? Kani. Mikni Kani. So he acquires the Korban. The Kani Levi Yesh, the Havi Didei, and it says, Afilu Achi Akruve Lemizbeach Lo. You cannot bring it to the Mizbeach. Okay. Geschmack. Geschmack like a rock? Geschmack like a rock? Okay. Now we're going to see the Rambam on this thing. I just feel like it. The Rambam, when talking about Lifnei Yesh, La'achar Yesh, it's a Rambam in Hilchos Lulav, Ches, Aleph. And they have Shulchan Aruch. Harry, you want to look up the Shulchan Aruch?
I was going to pull up the Rambam and look along with you, but yeah.
Oh yeah, we could do that. That's another pass. But also, wait, hold on. Because I have this Rambam also for Hilchos Lulav. But the Shulchan Aruch is tough race. You know how to look up Shulchan Aruch? Like in the Ein Mishpat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which Ein Mishpat?
We're in Aleph right now in Lamed Daf Lamed Amud Aleph, the Ein Mishpat, the first one.
Shulchan Aruch for Chaim Simon Tucker Shemtat.
Yeah. It is so good to be back, Shteig in Tyra, looking up Rambams and Shulchan Aruchs over here. Now, really, if I'm looking up the Rambam, I wanted to see the Rambam in Isurim Mizbeach. Shlegs, do you want to look up the Rambam in Hilchos Lulav?
Yes.
Okay. If you see it in the Ein Mishpat, I'm looking up the Rambam in Hilchos Isurei Mizbeach. Maybe she should give us Siyat Dishmaya to even find those halachas. Shkayach, do you want to find it in the Rambam? Because I'm looking in Isurei Mizbeach. I could go to the Rambam. No, the Rambam. Okay, I'm at the Rambam here. Just Perek Ches Halacha Aleph. So the Rambam says that these minim, that the lulav and the hadas, right, that it's gazol, Right? And Rambam says, afilu la'achar yesh. So the Rambam is mevarer that even after yesh, if the stolen lulav you can't take. Okay. Now we're here. You want to read it? You want to read the
Which halacha in the Rambam?
Ches Aleph.
Okay, yeah, I should see.
And in Hilchos Lulav?
Hilchos Lulav.
Ches Aleph.
Paragraph, 8th chapter of Lulav. Halacha Aleph.
Got it.
Okay. Okay. So we see it in we saw it in the Rambam. Who looked up the Rambam? So we see that the Rambam says afilu la'achar yesh, right? So the Rambam with those few words. No, he does. He says that the reason, because why would it be asher achar yesh? It has to be because of mitzvah b'avera. Now you have who's looking up the Rambam? You have the Rambam?
Yeah.
I think 3 people.
No, in the Sefer.
In the same.
You have the Sefer? Because I wanted to see if yeah, because the Mishnah is the Shulchan Aruch. Maybe if the Mishnah says something, but we're also so we see that the Rambam has the idea of Isur Mizbeach of Mitzvah B'Avera. Perek Hey Isur Mizbeach Halacha Zayin. Okay, so we have this Rambam also, but we could also see it in the Shulchan Aruch. Should I take a look?
It's up to you. You're the MC.
The MC and the
What
Magi Shir, M Shin. So we have this Shulchan Aruch that talks about that it was bein lifnei yesh, bein la'achar yesh. We see that everyone has this idea of mitzvah b'avera. It could be that we can look into some of like the Nosei Kalim either on the Rambam or on the Shulchan Aruch and see if one of them talk about the sugya of mitzvah b'avera. If someone wants to do that while reading this Rambam, or the Yibashir will give us yad l'shmaya.
Follow along with when you're reading.
Okay, I'm with you. Okay, so we go to the Rambam in Hilchos Isurei Mizbeach. In Hilchos Isurei Mizbeach, Hey Zayin, right? And you can look that up on the phone. Hilchos Isurei Mizbeach is not going to be in that one.
Just seeing what is it.
But Hilchos Isurei Mizbeach, Hey Zayin, the Rambam says like this. Oh, you want to look it up on this computer?
We have the whole set of Rambam here. I could pull out,
Okay. It's a good point. Hagonev, let's just see it. That's what it says and see where we're going to go. Hagonev o hagozel v'hikriv hakorban pasol. So the korban is pasol if it is stolen. Ve'akadosh baruch hu karau sono. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls it hated. Where does HaKadosh Baruch Hu call him that? You guys are not going to believe, but this is a one krach Rambam jackpot. He says, Sukkah Daf Lamed. So wait a second, HaKadosh Baruch Hu called him Sono. We didn't even get to that yet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu called him Sono, but the Rambam mentions it. This is a Rambam. I guess that's why they said it over here, because he's talking about our Gemara. Okay, it's a Rambam jackpot. All right. So it says, Agone, right? The Korban's Pasol, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu calls him in someone that he hates. Shenemar Sone Gazel Be'ola. So this is another pasuk in the sugya that he hates something that's stolen in an ola, in a korban, but it's a pasuk inside. It's pasuk in Yeshayahu that we'll get to in Hashem. Ve'ein zarech lomar she'eno miskabel. We don't have to say that it's not accepted as a korban. That's obvious. But if the Bailim were misyayesh, if the Bailim did have yayesh, says the Rambam, hakorban kosher. Over here.
What about mitzvah b'avera?
What about mitzvah b'avera? But
What about the other Rambam we see over here that says?
right, that says that if it doesn't matter before Yesh, doesn't matter after Yesh, you can't take the
There's a little inconsistent.
the lulav. Well, maybe the Rambam is saying like this, that since it's known, if the Korban Chatas is known to the Tzibor, known to the group, to the Rabbim, so it's not Mechaper. Avapi shenisyashu abaylim. Even though the Baalim is nisyayish, but it seems like they're right, they're abanan, they say takana that it's not Mechaper, even though they're right, it is Mechaper. So what? They're abanan, they're saying it's not Mechaper and he has to bring a new Korban, but they're right, is ready Yotze.
There's a girl's bathroom for more privacy if you want to have it. Yeah, go through there and we go.
Shkayach.
Next new one.
Definitely. Shkayach Gadol. Kidei shelo yomru mizbeach ochel gazelos, because they don't want the mizbeach eating gazelos. But there is a question here that Deoraisa, some guy's bringing a korban and fulfilling his obligation to bring a korban derabanan, and they're saying that the Takanas is saying you're not yotze the korban because we don't want people saying, oh, the mizbeach is eating stolen property. So you have to bring. Do we saying that this guy has to bring a new korban? Like what exactly does it mean? It happens to be that, believe it or not, I mean, we're just realizing this. I knew I loved this parak, but I haven't learned it in so long. And I haven't gone this deep in it maybe ever. You know, I learned this be'iyah when I was in like Shana Gimel, like a long time ago. But I'm understanding it, obviously, doing Chazara, understanding it better. This seems to have, this sugya has a big implication in the interplay between Deraisa and Derabanan over here. About the rabbis making a gezerah. But because the Rambam over here says, Im this Yashua Bailim, the korban's kosher. Right? And then the Rambam says, and even if it was a chatas, and he says that whole thing, and the Ravid jumps in and he says, Amar Vlam, Ein kan afilu. You don't have to, he's saying you don't have to say the word afilu. That if the korban was a chatas, if the korban tzibor, kachay kachim, it still works. The Ravid seems to say what he says, that there's no afilu, that you would read it, that if it was a chatas, so the korban wouldn't be kosher, maybe. Do you guys see that? Yes?
Doesn't it say later in that same Rambam, if Amr Chachatas hagazul im noida l'rabim eina mechaperes. So he's saying that even though it may be a kosher, so it doesn't mechaper the Baal, so could it be that the Rambam is like basing his psak on haba, mitzvah haba,
Bavera?
the
Mitzvah Bavera. Well, this chatas business is very madna, because it's a special thing on a chatas because of the takanas hamizbeach. But it's a madna zach. It's a strange thing.
What I was suggesting is that it seems that the diuk he's making here is that the mitzvah about min avera, meaning he's not getting the mitzvah of the kapara. Like he's not a non-kosher.
So the kapara is between him and Hashem. What difference does it make if the rabbis say you don't have kapara? And also, furthermore, halachically, if you're bringing a korban because you're lacking kapara, and it was a stolen korban, let's say it was a zav, and the zav comes and brings the korban that he needs to bring, but he stole it, so it's not mechaper. But wait a second, but it was after Yesh, so really the right said it is his korban.
He has to make cash compensation.
I mean, man dekar shmei. Who's saying anything about, maybe that's what he has to do. Explain.
He's obviously in full possession of it, or it was stolen.
Oh yeah, but I haven't had that time.
There's no hopes of the original owner getting it back because it was stolen.
Oh, you're talking about in the case of like cash compensation in what way?
So he has to make compensation to the original owner.
Okay.
But it's his legitimate possession.
Right, but still he can't bring it as a korban because of mitzvah bavera. Ask the Rambam in this case, but what if he does bring it? If it was after Yesh, even though mitzvah bavera, the korban's kosher. And then the Rambam, if the Rambam would have ended it here, I would have said, great. Wow, what a nice idea. that the korban's still kosher because the oraisa mitzvah of veiter doesn't apply because in the end of the day he's still bringing his property, right? But then the Rambam goes on and starts talking to us about even a chatas that the kohanim are eating its basara. The kohanim eat its basar. And there's a bunch of gemaras that is being brought under here. The Rambam is saying this off of, even though we don't have the Rambam with all the Nosei Kelim. But maybe we could see some of those gemaras. But I want to go. We'll see. We would make takanas hamizbeach. And what is this takanas hamizbeach? Fixing the beach. Amru. That the chatas that's stolen, if it is known to the rabbin, it's not mechaperes. It doesn't work. If it is known to the rabbin, it doesn't work. But avobishan is yaishu habaylim. So how could that work? That is a big question, right? How could it work? How could it make a difference? What the rabbis make a takana? How could that make a difference of what's going to go on with this guy's kapara with Hashem Yisparach?
What's going on here?
Yeah, very, very strange. Very big kasha. The Mefarshim on the Rambam.
I'm sure there are people asking on the Rambam. By the way, Sefaria has more Mefarshim than maybe a regular Sefer.
Yeah, exactly. And it will show us like which Gemara is doing to talk about it. But the Rambam might have referenced veiter in our Gemara. We stopped to see it with the Rashi today, but let's go.
And this and that, and we didn't even get to that yet.
Right, he's saying Sona Gezo Be'ola, that he quoted that pasuk. We didn't see that yet. Because that may be the next. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, veiter in the Gemara, on Lamed Amar Aleph. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishun Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. So it's the same guys. My dichsev ki ani Adonai oev mishpat sona gezo be'ola. What does it mean when it says, because I am Hashem, I hate theft in the Ayla? What, in the Korban Ayla? Where is this pasuk? Pasuk in Yeshayahu. V'nadati pu'ulasam be'emes u'bris olam echros lahem. So I hate Gezel be'ayla. So mashal lemelech basar v'dam. The Gemara is coming and giving a mashal, a parable. What's the parable here? To a melech basar v'dam, to a king of flesh and blood. Shahaya over al beis hameches, that he was going over on the house of tax, beis hameches. We have to see exactly what that is. Ba'amru la'avadav, and he says to his servants, Tenu michem l'maichsim. He says, give from you, or tenu meches l'mochasim, give taxes to the tax collectors. Amrulo, they said to him, Ve'alo kol ha'meches kula shelchahu. But wait a second, isn't all of the taxes, let's see exactly what meches is, isn't all of his taxes yours? Amar lahem, he says to them, Mimeni yilmedu, kol ovrei derachim, v'lo yavrichu atzma min hameches. He say, wait a second. He saying, so the king says to his servants, he says, hey servants, give me taxes. Say, wait a second, but the servants are like, wait a second, but everything that we have is yours anyways. So what's the rationale? You know, we're going to give taxes, that's your money, we're going to give it back to you. Everything we own is yours. Says the king of flesh and blood that, no. Amr lahem, it says the king is saying to his slaves, yo, give taxes for my money, give taxes. Wait a second. The king is going to give taxes to go back to the king at the end of the day? What's the point? Answers the king, Mimeni yilmedu kol ovrei derachim. From me, they will learn all of the...
He's priming the pump.
Right, exactly. They will learn all of the people who are going like on the path. They'll say, well, even the king is paying taxes, so I'm going to pay taxes. Can I have a cup of juice and dregs, please? Thank you. So Abba Kadosh Baruch Hu, so too Hashem Yisbarach, Amar, Ani Hashem, I am Hashem, so ze gazel, so ne gezel be'ola, so ne gezel be'ola. I hate gezel in a korban. Baruch Atan B'Chalav, Shakol Nihiyah B'Dvarai. Okay. Ani Hashem, Soda, Gezel, Be'oila. Hashem says, I hate Gezel. Mimeni yilmedu kol b'nei, kol banai, v'yavrichu atma min ha-gezel, and they'll separate themselves from stolen. You know? We're talking about the four minim, the four species that we take on Sukkot. It really is like, especially like back in the day, like they didn't buy so many properties. They bought food what they needed to live. And then it's like, okay, like, they bought like the mitzvahs, they bought their tefillin. But one of the things that the kids would spend money on was getting like a nice lulav, a nice esrog. It's like a real, like, important property. Like, it's an example of a property. It's a philosophical idea here of how we react to our property. And so, right when we're learning about this property that we acquire for Sukkot, we learn about Gezel, and we learn about it's not just about having the lulav, it's about how you acquired the lulav. It's about the journey.
What's the definition of gezel?
Stealing, theft, robbery.
Okay.
Lulav hagazul. If the guy steals the lulav, so then can he bring it? If the guy steals the korban, so then can he bring it? And that's what we're talking about. A mitzvah that comes from the Aveira.
We're talking about the spiritual state of it given on.
Actually, so mind-blowing, like what you just said about it being like philosophical, and that we like sort of link like lulav to like space, like we're thinking about
Right, lulav space with the shaking.
Often, like there's a lot of concern, or we're talking about like space, topology, maybe a little bit, but like that, the unspoken thing, this is different than that.
Of like
It's
having,
about property.
it's about
Literally about
property. And so right away, they say it's not just about what you have, it's about how you get it, how you acquire it. Don't steal it. Hashem hates stealing. You're like, oh, I'm going to do such a firm thing. I'm going to steal the nicest lulav in town. It's like, no, Hashem doesn't want you to do it through that. It's more than just about like, oh, like, did you shake the lulav on Yontif? Did you bring the korban? What's the journey that brought you to this korban? How did you get this korban to the base of
It's the
Mikdash?
act of honoring Hashem from the very inception.
Yeah. So sometimes the yid can get like so caught up in just like the actual Maisa HaMitzvah that he forgets about the entire tahalich, the entire process of getting to that point where he's sitting there with his tefillin and is about to shake lulav, not his tefillin, unless you're Avi Elias and you put on tefillin in Yantif. But with his tzitzis, and he's sitting there in the base of Mikdash, Mirza Hashem, and he's shaking lulav, or he's bringing a korban, and it's about how he got there. And so
It's a holistic way of looking on a mitzvah. It's not only, it's like zooming out.
yeah.
It's looking about, or not only doing mitzvot and doing veiter mitzvot. It's how being a person, being a adam.
And it's amazing. And if we have the intent, and it's not only in the mitzvah, but even when you go to sleep, you know, an adam is yashen so that he should have power. He's ochel, he eats so that he should have power and energy to serve Hashem the next day. If, says the Rambam, you find that his sleep is avodas Hashem and his eating is avodas Hashem. A person can mamish be makdish his entire day with the right intention. Okay, so that's what we learn from this, going right into the sugya of a stolen lulav. And so we're going to learn it from Hashem. The Gemara gives us that beautiful mashal. We're going to see again with Rashi right now. it says, so what's pshat in this pasuk in Yeshayahu? Ani Hashem oev mishpat. I love fairness. I love mishpat. I love, judgment. Hashem loves emes. And Sona Gezel, and he hates theft in the Isla. So Be'olah means he really hates theft, but it's also the name of a korban. He hates Gezel with the korban Olah.
Is it a lot or like the Ola specifically?
So it's a good question. It says Be'olah. So like Be'olah, like could be that he really hates it, or it could be.
See how they translate it?
Yeah, you wanna. So Be'olah. It could be talking about like specifically in the korban, or it could be a lot. I think those are two ways that I can see. But before we go to before we look at it, let's see Rashi. So negeze be'olah, be'olos sha'atem mevi'im. So Rashi says in the korban, olah that you're bringing, Lee, right? Ani soneh es hagazel. That could be the drush, right? There's a lot of different ways that you can learn the drush, and the shach could be different. Sha'atem mevi'im li. Ani soneh es hagazel sha'atem gozlim osam. That you're stealing. I hate it. V'aval bi she'akol shali. Even though everything's me, what's the difference if you steal it from this guy to that guy, this guy to that guy? It's all Abishers. Ve'af mitechila shali ha'isai. It was always mine, and if this guy takes it, that guy takes it, it's still Abishers. And that's the mashal, right? It says it's a mashal to what is this comparable? To a melech basar v'dam, to an earthly king that he was going past, like where they're collecting taxes. He says to his slaves, servants, give them taxes. They're like, wait a second, but all the taxes are going right back to you. So what's the point? So the king says, no. They're going to learn everyone who passes that you give taxes. Even the king gives taxes. You know.
Could you explain the story again? He's going and he sees who?
So. Melech basar v'dam, a king of flesh and blood, over al beis hameches, that he was walking past the place where they collect taxes.
So they have his money in it.
Right. So all of the money that they collect is going to the king anyways.
So
he says to his servants that are traveling with him. He says, give to nu meches l'meichsim, give tax to the tax collectors. Amrulo.
From his own money.
Yeah. Amrulo. He said, "Alo kol hameches kulo shelchahu." Everyone who gives taxes goes right back into your pocket. So what's the point of this whole rigmarole? He says,
it's like putting money in a tzedakah box in your own base measures when you're
right.
It's like,
yeah, right. So it's all going to you. So he says, no. Mimeni yilmedu kol over drachim. Even though the Maisa, I guess it's
monkey
kind
see,
of
monkey do.
Yeah, exactly. Monkey see, monkey do. They'll learn from me. Kol over drachim, and they're not going to lo yavrichu atzman min hameches. They're not going to absquatulate themselves from having to pay taxes. Happens to be that all taxes is theft, l'chayra, but that's also a huge sugya. Let's see.
I mean, there were taxes in time of the Beis Hamikdash. That was the reason that the northern kingdom split in the first place.
Yeah.
Really?
Taxes were too high to upkeep King Solomon's wife's properties.
Wait.
The normal taxes were fine, and then after King Solomon, he had 1,000 wives, and each one had a palace and staff and guards, and the 10 northern tribes, 1,000 wives. They said, we're out.
Taxes always the problem. All taxes. I mean,
The whole Gullus was from taxes.
yeah. I mean, the whole period of Nam Yisrael is just because taxes. But we have before I accept such a thing. Obviously we got to see the makoros inside, but the taxes sugya. That's a huge makor, and so thank you.
But is it like any Meiser type of tax? Like if we give to the Kohanim and
Oh, I mean, that what Hashem says. At the end of the day, everything belongs to Hashem. So it doesn't matter if this guy says and that guy. No, Hashem says I'm going to tell them, don't steal. Right? Nice, good shusha pasuk. Amar Hashem. So right. Afa Kadosh Baruch Hu, even Hashem. So too Hashem says, I am Hashem. I hate theft. Mimeni yilmedu kol banai. My children will learn that all from me. And they will run from this theft. Sona gezel be'olah. We already saw that be'olos. Harry, do you want to read the English Safari translation of the
It's
pasuk
in
right now?
the carpenter.
It said the korban also. Okay, great.
Yeah, it says, for
no.
I got the justice and he robbed me with a burnt offering.
Nice. Okay. V'yivruchu atzman min hagazul. Right. So, itmar nami. We also said, once we're talking about gezel, we also said Amar Rebbe Ami Yavesh Pasol Mibnei She'ein Hadar. So we also said that Rabbi Ami says that Yavesh, that a dry lulav is pasol. Why? Mibnei she'ein hadar, because it's not hadar. Gazul pasol, a stolen lulav is pasol. Mishum dehavale mitzvah ba'avera. So he says that the reason that gazul is pasol.
One puzzle, but two different explanations.
Right.
They're both puzzle, but it doesn't mean that
They're
it's
both
for the same
puzzles.
reason.
And by the way,
whole
there's more than
Kappa
two.
thing is like,
There's,
chill out.
there's more than two, because you have Yavesh,
And then you
and you have
Hadar,
Pasal,
and
and you have Pasal on Yom Rishon, and Pasal on Yom Sheni, right? Different reasons. But he's just saying that it's because mitzvah of Avera.
It doesn't matter the reasons behind it.
Right. This is Rabbi Ami. I believe Rabbi Ami is a Moira in Eretz Yisrael. That's why he's still called Rebbe.
So maybe Ami's just talking about the Kapasa Katani and saying chill out.
It Marnami was also said by this. He's saying he's saying the reason. Upliga the Rabbi Yitzchak, but he arguing on Rabbi Yitzchak. The Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Nachmani, because Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Nachmani Amar Shmuel, says his name is Shmuel. Lo shanu ela biyom tov rishon. He really says gazul, stolen lulav, only aser on the first day. Why? Because it says l'lakachtem lachem.
Who says the Rav Ami?
This is Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Nachmani in the name of Shmuel.
Oh, Lo Shanu.
Lo shanu, the Mishnah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That says that it's pasol. It's only talking about pasol on Yom Tov Rishon. Aval b'Yom Tov Sheni, but on Yom Tov Sheni, mistoch sheyotze b'shaul, since you are yotze on a borrowed lulav, because you don't need lachem on the second day. Yotze nami begazul, you're also yotze with the stolen. Harry asked a great question.
We're
What?
learning Gazel from Shaul. Shaul's kosher.
Yeah, what
Gazel's not.
does this guy forget? What did he forget to say that pasuk in Malachi over here? If you would have bothered to see the pasuk in Malachi, they're saying in the base pages, how could he have this
I'm very
shita?
disturbed by this comeback.
Yeah, Shmuel Bar Nachmani Amar Shmuel over here is very strange psak. We have to understand.
We have to understand where he's learning.
We have to understand, like, how could he
Shaul.
say? Well, he's saying
And then
because
how does he
he's
deal
saying
with
because
the
it's
pasuk?
both it's Shaul. The
It's
reason
both
you
not
can't
yours,
do
but one's mitzvah b'aver.
right. It's both right. It's both lachem is not applicable on either one. But one of them has this other huge, big, fat Nevi'im, pasuk and Nevi'im sized problem with it, which is mitzvah avera. So, he says you could be yotze with gazol. Masif Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. If only Shligs was here, his favorite Amayra, Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Masir Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, lulav gazol ve'ayavesh pasol. He says, what are you talking about over here? Our very Mishnah says that lulav gazol and yavesh is pasol. So, hashol kosher. So we see that, because it doesn't say that the borrowed lulav is pasol. So we can infer that the borrowed lulav is kosher. Emas, when? Ilema, if you're going to say b'yom tov rishon, if you're going to say that it's on the first yantif, haksiv lachem, it says lachem in the pasuk, lachem mishalachemu, it's got to be from yours. The high lavdidei, this is not his. Lavdidei, elulav, rather not what we are talking, it's not what we're talking about, b'yom tov sheni, that we're talking about second day yantif.
We're not talking about second day?
Elulav.
Rather not that.
No, elulav. Rather, is it not that the diuk of a borrowed lulav being kosher is talking about the second day of yantif, where it doesn't say lachem. It's not talking about on the first day because it's not lachem. The inference, the diuk, Masan, you see this diuk from the fact that it says stolen and dry is possible. The Gemara wants to infer that borrowed is kosher. But when would that be that borrowed is kosher? So it can't be on the first day because it can't be kosher on the first day because it's not lachem. It must be that it's talking about the the second day. Yom Tov Sheni.
Lulav, Yom Tov Sheni.
And they said, what did they say? If it's talking about on Yom Tov Sheni, what did they say? Gazul is puzzle, even puzzle there. So he argues on this shita of Yitzchak Bar Nachmani, Amar Shmuel, that seems to not have mitzvah bavera, does not have this concept of mitzvah bavera. And he asked the question from our Mishnah. He makes a deal. V'kedani gazul bazul Rav Amar, and there's a small note over here. It's going to this hay over here, which tells us Rav Amar Tzarech Lomar Amar Rava. Okay, Amar Rava. La'ayla b'Yom Tov Rishon. No, it's really talking about Yom Tov Rishon. Below me baya Amar, and it's saying, yeah, that when it's talking about that, like Yavesh and Gazul is puzzle.
Because the fact that it didn't say borrowed, we were like, it's talking about Yom Tov Sheni.
Right.
But no, it is talking about Yom Tov Rishon. It's talking about borrowed. Okay, already have it.
Right, so we say, no, really it's talking about Yom Tov Rishon. Velomi baya, and sometimes, because remember, Zalman, when we see, everyone, but when we see a Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, he put it in an as concise way as possible. Every single letter in the Mishnah, you can learn mountains and mountains. Tilim, tilim, harim, harim, right? So, there are different types of inferences that we could make on the Mishnah. Here, the inference Mishnah, it's a lomi baya kamar. It's a lomi baya type of Mishnah. Lomi baya show, we don't need to say that you can't use a borrowed lulav, dilav dideu, because it's not his. Stam gezela, say that if it's stolen, say stam gezela, just any old theft.
Borrowing never leads to kinyan, but gezel could lead to kinyan.
Right, stam gezela is yesh bayalimu. Very good. That if yesh bayalim, he could actually become his. V'kididei, and in such a case, you might think that it's like it's his. V'kididei dami.
No, we stream at high speeds. We see the download speed is very high speed.
Yeah, it's very. It's probably my
I don't know
phone.
if it's an Indian Facebook.
It might be Indian in my phone, Indian Facebook,
Okay.
in the Zara, trying not to be taken to the base measures, but we take him anyways. Ukadidei dami, and it's like is Kamash Malon, that is not. Okay, before we go on to the next part of the Gemara, we're going to see the Rashis. Shkaya, so we see that it's not. Okay, that it's not his. Even if you might think that he acquired it. So, let's see this Gemara again with the Rashis. So we saw see that Gemara, they bring that example that Hashem hates theft, so don't do it. Hashem saying, even I hate theft, even though Hashem, what's nafkamina if it belongs to this created human for like a very split second of time, or that created human. Hashem saying, no, I hate theft. I don't want it in my mitzvahs. I don't want it. I don't want you to do my mitzvahs like because you stole a korban or because you stole a lulav. Very good, thank you. And also we saw another case in Bava Kama we didn't see yet about someone who stole wheat and made matzah. We'll see what happens. But right now we're seeing Rashi. So we saw that story. Hashem hates Gezel. Okay. They'll do it, and the children will see that Hashem says don't do it, and they won't do it. Itmar Nami. So this Itmar Nami is also said about it. This whole idea of we're talking about Mitzvah Avera and Lulav, it's also said here with this Amorayim statement, the statement of the people that wrote the Gemara from a guy from Israel. His name was Rabbi Ami, and he says that Yavesh is possible because it's not hadar, it's not nice. Gazul is possible, but if it's stolen, it's possible. Mishum da'avale mitzvah ba'avera, because it is a mitzvah ba'avera. Do we have a Rashi here? Mitoch she'oti b'shaul. Wait, we do have a Rashi here? Itmar Nami. Well, we have on the Itmar Nami the Taima Dimas Nizin Begazol. biyom tov sheni mishum mitzvah ba'avera. So we said that the reason is mitzvah ba'avera on the second day. Itmar nami, we also have this statement from...
When they're saying hagazul in the Mishnah, you should come and say you're really just talking about the second day, because otherwise if it was talking about the first day, it would also include shiur. The fact that it says shiur is self-implied, and we didn't need to teach you hagazul on the first day. Is that what it's saying?
Let's see, maybe, let's see. Itmar nami. It's also said like this. Rashi says, what is the itmar nami? That the reason in the Mishnah that hagazul, that the reason the Mishnah in hagazul on Yom Tov Sheni, meaning in the Mishnah says katani the pasuk. It implies it doesn't matter Yom Tov Rishon or Yom Tov Sheni, but there are different reasons for hagazul. The first day is because it's the Gezeres HaKasav, but the second day we don't know. There's no Gezeres HaKasav. Why couldn't you bring it? So we went through all of that limud until the Itmar nami, and showing that the reason is actually because mitzvah b'avera. It's similar to the korban, and we have that pasuk by Malachi. Itmar nami, we have another thing saying that the reason why our Mishnah is saying that hagazul is aser on Yom Tov Sheni is because of mitzvah b'avera. It's talking about the Yom Tov Rishon. The reason is because of lachem. What's the reason for Yom Tov Sheni? Itmar nami, that the reason is because of mitzvah b'avera. The Gemara comes and explains that the reason Yom Tov Sheni is because it's a mitzvah that comes from an avera. Itmar nami, we also have another statement that says explicitly that the reason you can't take the lulav that's stolen on the second day, even though there's no gezeres hakasav pasuk telling me that you can't take because it's not yours, but mitzvah b'avera, that's the reason in the Yom Tov Sheni in our Mishnah. That's why it just says it straight out kapasik vitani. What?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times, like, we figure out ways to say it, and we're saying the same thing, and we're just figuring out how to, like, express it. And so I'm not saying different necessarily than what you said. I'm just saying, explaining it the way that I was explaining
I'm just saying, is he saying that our Mishnah is just coming to teach us the second day?
Not just the second day, both. L'chaira is both, but the pshat in our Mishnah for the second day, the reason is mitzvah b'avera. And that's what the Itmar nami is coming to tell us. That's the Itmar nami. It's also said about which point. You made a lot of points. Right? Already a few hours.
So why the Mishnah doesn't teach about shiur then?
So let's see. Amar Rabbi Ami, Yavesh puzzle, Mipnei She'ein Hadar, hagazul puzzle, Mishum Dahavale, Mitzvah Ba'avera. Hagazul is puzzle because it is mitzvah Ba'avera. Upliga de Rabbi Yitzchak, and he argues on Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Nachmani in the name of Shmuel says that no, we didn't learn this except on Yom Tov Rishon. But in Yom Tov Sheni, because you're Yotzei with Shaul, so you're also Yotzei with hagazul. Let's see Rashi. Lo Shanu, that we didn't learn that hagazul is puzzle only on the first day because of the Gezeres HaKasav. But what? Shmuel doesn't hold mitzvah avera. Mitoch sheyotzei b'Shaul, the habi Yom Tov Sheni lo ksiv lachem lemeutei. That in Yom Tov Sheni it is not written lachem, right? There's no pasuk on the second day Yom Tov. It only says lachem on the first day. So Shmuel seems to not hold of this concept mitzvah b'avera, and Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says Lulav hagazul ve'yavesh is puzzle. So what we can infer that the shoal, the borrowed one, is kosher. When can we make that inference that the borrowed one is kosher? If you're going to say it on the first day, it can't be because we have the puzzle. V'hai lavdi day, it's not is. Elulav Yom Tov Sheni v'kitari hagazul puzzle. So rather, we're talking about the second yantif, and we said that hagazul is puzzle. So if you're saying that it's talking about both days. It's Lulav is right on those two things that it's talking about on Shaul and Yavesh Asher on the first day and on the second day. We can infer that Shaul is not in that category.
Maybe that's why they didn't do it, but since you're talking about 2 days, Shaul is not a 2-day zach, so
Right.
it's not included in the Mishnah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Because Shaul is mutter on the second
Shaul's
days.
got its own. Where are we going to learn Shaul though from? Who's going to come and teach us Shaul?
But we learn it from the fact that it's not in the Mishnah. We can make that inference that Shaul is mutter on the second day. The first day,
Shaul on
obviously.
the first day.
You can't do it Shaul on the first day. It's usher because it says lachem.
Well, we have to learn that on our own. No one's going to just tell us.
It's right here, right?
Is it no
It
Mishnah
says
that says it?
No, the Mishnah, we infer it. The Gemara learns it out. The Gemara is learning it out. No, the Gemara didn't tell us, the Mishnah didn't tell us the read yet. The Mishnah is like, you'll figure it all out in the Gemara. See how concise it is, the Mishnah?
I mean, the Mishnah could have just saved us some time and said beyond this, and then on Yom Sheni.
No, it saved them time.
I know.
They don't have to
They
remember.
memorize books and
They don't have to remember all of these extra words, you know?
I'm saying 1, 2, 3 words could save Svarim.
2, 3 words, you leave out 2, 3 words, you know, and that's how we'll be able to continue it. Exactly. So to learn it out, as concise as possible. She would say, it says, Lulav the Yoto Shady. It says that the Gazul's puzzle, even Yoto Shady, says Rashi, we're so close to being done, guys. It, lo, mitoch sheyotze b'shao, deha b'yom tov shady, lo ksiv lachem l'me'ute, lo olam b'yom tov rishon. So this is the Gemara's answer. That really we're talking about Yom Tov Rishon. Below Sida Kiddaikina. Don't say that it's only talking about Yom Tov Shady. Ha Shaul kosher. That we can inference that Shaul is kosher. Right now we're discussing what is the din of Shaul. Since the Mishnah left it out, we're learning all the dinim of Shaul from the fact that it's left out.
They left it out.
Right. The kosher came the Shaul puzzle. Obviously Shaul is puzzled. That's the deal. The kosher came that Shaul is puzzled on the first day, right? We don't need to tell me that Shaul is possible because it's not his. But stolen, Kal V'chomer, is going to be possible if you stole the Lulav, because then sometimes there's Yehush, and sometimes it might actually be his. Comes the Gemara and says still Asr because the mitzvah of Avera. Shkayach Gadol. So mitzvah of Avera, we did it. We did the Gemara, we did the Rashis, we still saw some Rambams of the Sugya of mitzvah of Avera. We went in deep, and we ended shiur. Mitzvah Vaver, that's the maskara in like how we're learning the Mishnah. And Chazara obviously is great. And we'll see tomorrow, maybe we'll go a little veiter, maybe we'll see the sugya again, you know. Mitzvah Hashem, Yeshivas Gulashal, we took the sugya of Mitzvah Vavera, and now maybe next time when we're learning like a sugya, we'll come back in and we'll like keep on building on the sugya. These are good yisodos to know. Shkoyach Gadol, everyone. We should continue to be zocha to keep on steiging and keep on bringing the Yitzhara to the base measures and keep on davening to have siyata d'shmaya and having a mood to have siyata d'shmaya to beat the Yitzhara, build the third base of Mikdash, and destroy the sheep of Malchias and all of our enemies.